What's up, everybody? This is Casey, one half of the Hit Confirm podcast, and I'm with my bro.
Yeah, it's Coach. Today we got a special guest.
Yes, we got Fame today. Um, you people probably know him from, most people probably know him from Evo 2018, runner-up for Blaze Blue Tag, and the current Super TSB winner for Grand Blue. So, coming off pretty hot.
So go ahead and give a quick introduction of yourself and let the people know who you are.
Um, Good evening, everyone. I'm Fame96, or usually, some people might call me Orochi Fame96 based off of my Twitter. But I usually just go by Fame. Mostly just like stream occasionally and also compete whenever I can. But other than that, it's nothing special.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah. He's also a fellow Georgian like Casey and I, and yeah, he's definitely built a name for himself, especially recent years. So I guess I'm gonna ask you the obvious question actually before we like start rolling to the serious stuff. What's up with the edge lords, man?
I mean, that's just a kind of a coincidence because they also just have the playstyles I'm looking for.
Nice, nice.
I see the edge lords just work out the way you want it to. This sounds like fate to me.
I wish I could deny that.
Hey, the character love is there though. That's good.
I mean, like we kind of joking about it, but how much does like the synergy of a character like one doing what you want mechanically, and two just I guess for lack of a better word, aesthetically appeasing to you, push you to do what you do?
Mm. I generally prioritize like synergy mechanically above all else a lot of the time. It takes a lot, like aesthetically, to like push me away from a character.
Mm.
Okay, so you just kind of go in there and you want something optimal, something that you know how to deal with and can essentially do what you want more so than what the character does or what the character looks like, acts like, and it just I guess you just get naturally getting bonuses on that.
Mm. Yeah, so it's like over the years, I've just generally changed around my playstyle again because at first I tend to play zoners a lot of the time.
Hmm.
This was back when I like really started playing fighting games back in like Marvel 2, because like I would like play like Blackheart Doom Sentinel, chip
Oh,
you out, throwing demons everywhere, just being a nuisance, and then Modok, and then like play like Modok, Doom, Dormammu, so that was like a little bit more of like a hybrid style. And then around the time Blaze Blue came around, I started focusing more on like a runaway style because that's when I started playing like Hazama, and although around the time CP 1.1 came out, I was not exactly pleased with the ways direction his character was going.
Hmm.
Even though he was like still like broke, he was still being boring somehow. So I started to just like change characters at that point, which led to me to playing Terramy, which is more like no, basically next to no neutral high speed pressure character. And then that basically allowed me to play characters that didn't really have any neutral defensive options. Were fine, but it's like not the best.
Hmm.
And then when CEF came around, it was like half. I want to say around halfway through to the end of CF1, I switched to Susanoo
that
because
character.
I mainly changed up. Because that's mainly because I'm one of more of an archetype change, and that's actually one of the times I actually kind of like the character's design and just like went with it. So
Susanoo
that's
is definitely a cool character.
yeah, that's around the time I started like getting better with playing slower characters.
Hmm. What's interesting is I first ran into you, and I want to say maybe it was 2017, 16 final round when you were playing Guilty Gear, and everybody was like in this small room playing, and it had a lot of top players there, strong players there. Of course, you had the Georgia strong players like Vinny and and Han, and you also had like the New York players like Losso and Marlon Pie in there, and then you were like on a win streak. You were like destroying people with Zato. And people was like, "Who's
Oh,
this guy?" And Vinny was like, "He's from Georgia."
yeah, Zara was like my first time like playing like something really out of the box, like a pup. Like that's like my first puppet character I ever played, actually. Um, Really weird character to learn how to play Guilty Gear was. That was also my first Gear game that I actually tried to play.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So you're basically like you got a
So
control panel out here.
that was also my first set play character. Well, unless I guess Modok technically counts because that character is literally reverses your controls in unblockable view. So
Yeah, Moda could be pretty BS too.
Man, it sounds
But
like you.
yeah,
Go ahead, Casey.
no, you can go, you go.
Like I'm listening to you, and it's like it sounds like you went through like quite an evolution. Like it feels like you've touched like every big, I guess, major type of character at some point. Do you feel like that's contributed
I
overall to your skill?
well, I played everything aside from like a pure grappler like Ladiva, Geef, generally everything except for that.
Hmm.
I tend to
Man,
also not favor pure zoners at all. I tend to stay away from those two. But other than that, yeah, I basically played everything else, and that generally helps gives me a lot of perspective in terms of like how to go about things against certain archetypes, what makes certain things strong, and all that.
right. Yeah, is so like I guess the reason why I guess the obvious reason why you probably don't like zoners is because they're obvious flaws, right?
Yeah, they tend to not be the most stable thing depending on the game, because especially recently, they tend to make them not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the rise of mechanics where your projectile invincible. Just the games themselves, the systems themselves don't really want them to shine out here.
Mm,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that entirely. It's like it's more so they're like it's kind of obvious that they're undertuning them a bit in some cases.
Right.
Yeah,
You,
I can see
you,
that.
you,
It's like a similar thing with like pure grapplers. That it's kind of obvious that they're not trying to make them good.
right.
It's like pot throughout all of Extra's life, you can obviously tell they didn't want to give them certain things.
Man, I always said grapplers don't need to be top tier.
That's one
I
of the
mean,
big
that's
debates.
true, but but they don't need to be like hot trash either.
Yeah,
Right, right.
There got to be like some kind of middle ground.
Oh no, I totally agree with that.
looking for something functional where they can still kind of express their identity, but they can't just say, "Hey, I'm a slow grappler, but I can always be in your face."
But
Speaking
hmm,
of grapplers, um, so I finally got my hands on Grand Blue, and I was playing like a lot of Ladiva lately because that character got me interested in Grand Blue, and I've had experience with grapplers before, like T Hawk and Street Fighter 4 and stuff like that. But I really like Ladiva because she it's not the run that makes her good, but like it's the fact that like I don't know, it's the typical grappler, really good range on her buttons and good command grab. She doesn't have what they've been given kind of grapplers recently in most fighting games these days. It's armor, but overall, Grand Blue. I've been playing Street Fighter 5 before Grand Blue, and I realized that the pacing of the game, uh, funny enough, even though it's slow, it's different than the other slower games out there. And is that why did you get attached to Grand Blue Fame?
I just tried it. It's not so much attachment. I just tried it out because that's like Granblue is like the first 1v1 game that's came out in a while that isn't isn't just like a patch.
Right.
Yeah, first like fresh new experience in a while. Yeah, yeah. Um, man.
And it's
So
not super high flying either.
I mean, it's like committed jumps and stuff like that. That's something that hasn't really been around lately. Like Sam Show was kind of the other big example of that.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. Same show.
Yeah, I tried Sam Show and I was like, I did not like this.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this real quick before we start going on further, just with the Sam Show. Just a little bit of a tangent. Was this like during the Genjiro patch where everyone was really slow and Genjiro was ruling the roost?
Mm, yeah, I actually tried it right before the game came out officially. It was at CEO. So it was like game felt really slow, like couldn't really move. Like I like couldn't really move. Frame data, I could get over that part and like the really like skewed RPS, but generally I also didn't really find any of the characters I tried fun.
Okay. Just wanted to ask that because I know a lot of people have kind of night and day opinions over the 1.0 patch before and after, and so I was just curious at what point like you experienced it and what you felt about it. So that was interesting. But I guess kind of getting back, I like to take it more kind of conceptually if you don't mind. But I notice like when I see your attitude about the games, I see like you kind of just want to play, you study, and I see you just kind of play whoever asks you, and you just being pretty open. And to me, like I think I kind of attribute that kind of attitude to, I guess, growth in general, as opposed to people who are kind of picky about their opponents or people who try to avoid certain things.
Hmm. I wouldn't say I'm completely open. I definitely make sure that these people do not have whack internet.
Okay, well, okay. Let me rephrase that. When they meet the bare minimum standards of a functional game.
um, okay, yeah. Once you like factor that out, yeah, I generally don't care too much about who I play.
Okay. Because like a lot of people I see, kind of like they'll either like focus on beating on people who are weaker than them, or on the contrary, they focus on people who are much stronger than them. So they have like a really skewed perspective on their strengths. And then like one of the things I guess I always advocate is that you need to focus on fighting weaker players, kind of similarly skilled and higher skilled players, just to kind of get a good perspective of where you're at, different play styles, and to grow. And I know like once you reach kind of what your point is, I guess that kind of skews. But I think when you're coming up, I think that's important.
Mm, I feel that every time a new game comes out, in general, you have to fight all the above at the beginning because generally you have to know what each level of plays, like each level of player's mindset and how they're going to go about things. So even so, at like the first week of Grand Blue, I typically stop. I kind of just stopped caring about who I was fighting and just like took a leap of faith on the connections because at that point I kind of just need the experience at that point. I need to know what people are going to try to do to me, how they're going to try to cheese me out. So I need so like get that out the way so that way I could just beat them up a lot quicker like next week at that point once I get used to my character.
Okay, so kind of just like let them spill out any gimmicks they got on them. Just go ahead and just take whatever, and then like come back after you got it all solved. That's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. You could see this by like kind of like with your character selection too when you pick characters, Fame. But I feel like this is gonna sound crazy. When a new game comes out or when a game that you're like interested in that you pick up that's new to you, when you look at the character select screen, you focus on like pretty much. It seems like you look at all the characters before you actually pick your character. As funny as that sounds, because some people they just focus like either on like top tier or be the low tier gods or whatever. But it seems like you'll be like you actually like hone in on like what like you should just like kind of look at what all these other characters might be able to do. That's why you like you challenge yourself to play these other characters against these other characters. Once you do pick a character that you like.
Hmm. In smaller rosters, yeah, I tend to just like skim across the cast for like the first month because it's a lot more reasonable to do it on like smaller casts than like let's say like Tekken for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
So like I don't remember how many characters the game launched with,
Tekken had quite
but
a few characters. Yeah.
not only did they have a lot of characters, but you also had like 100 plus moves.
Hmm.
That's not in games like that. I'm like, no, no. I'm about to pick one and just have fundamentals carry me, and then at that point, then I'll learn the characters. I'll
right,
worry about like my own character in the system first. Now, when it comes to Grand Blue, this game only started with 11, and we're probably only gonna have like so it's 11. There's five in the pass, 16 until I want to say November. I'm just gonna take a guess because
right.
that's when like the tournament season ends.
Yeah.
Um, so we're only gonna be stuck with like 16. In games like this, especially considering how simple Grand Blue is, you can afford to just like skim across the cast a bit. You can like take your time with the system and then just skim across the cast, then focus on your own character, and then just go from there.
Makes sense. I kind of did something similar with Samsho because again, like you said, it had a small cast. It's a very simplistic game. Characters only have a few moves, so there's no real excuse for not knowing like the big gimmicks all the characters have.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine getting into Dragon Ball now. If that cast released like the cast that it has now, day one, if it released like that,
So like in
yeah,
games like Dragon Ball though, you can kind of get away without knowing that many characters
that's true.
because of how much yeah, words yeah, mainly due to like how much people like favor certain characters over the other.
Right.
Because like in team games, you generally are going to favor stronger characters more above everything else a lot of the time.
Makes sense.
Speaking of favoring characters, so like you've been playing Basaraga ever since Grand Blue released, right?
Yes, I played Gran in the beta though.
Okay. So what was the definitive thing that made you like stick to Basaraga? What made you like? Because I'm pretty sure you probably looked at La
Mm,
Diva and was like, nah. What made you say, nah, I want to stick with Basaraga?
So there were a few things. So one was mainly the damage because one thing I've discovered throughout these years is that I really like hurting people. Two is like another thing I've also learned is that people do not like doing their homework.
Very true.
They will not do their homework unless you beat them up. So that's another advantage. And three, in games like these, the kind of normals I favor tend to be the type that like even though you don't always get the most reward off of them, kind of like Catalina and Grant in this case,
Right.
you don't really have to worry about which section of the bot, like which section of like poke range you have to worry about. It's like large sweeping normals. So if they're swinging and the limb is there, you're generally gonna hit it. I don't really have to worry about are they doing a like high poke or are they doing a low poke? I can just swing. I can just worry about timing at that point.
So kind of
Yeah.
in exchange for like that versatility of like Cat and Grand, you got like kind of a universal thing you can just count on. That's what I'm kind of getting from that.
Yeah, because like I've been playing a bit of Catalina lately with like Tepis, which is like he's also like messing with Gran for the time being. because we're just anticipating for the April patch what they're about to do.
Okay.
So one thing that I really do miss when I play Catalina is that when Grant presses 2U and he goes under almost everything I do, I really miss being able to hit Vasaraga anything. Basically anything aside from like Far 5L, I could just hit Gran for just trying that. It
Oh,
didn't really matter which button. With Catalina, I have to go out of my way to like press a different kind of button.
right.
Man, like that, you mentioned that button. I was talking to someone about that the other day. Now, my knowledge of Grand Blue is limited, but that button seems like one of the best, if not the best button in the game. Because like in certain cases, he can actually just game the frame data just because of
That
how
would
he's.
say best in the game because that's reserved for Fairy Sweep.
Oh, fair
Nah,
enough,
I
fair
was thinking
enough.
of Fairy Sweep too.
That's why I said.
Fairy Sweep.
That's why I put in. I don't know that enough about the game yet.
It's probably the second best sweep in the game though, because not only is it like extremely fast, but it has barely any whiff recovery and it low profiles.
So like, if you don't actually have a button, you could be at a frame advantage, but you don't have a button that can touch him. He could put the pressure on you. It's a funny concept. Like I think that's
But
probably
like,
going to be one of the big things that gets touched.
I wouldn't say that because unlike Fairy, he's in general like a very stubby character. So
That,
him having a normal like that generally makes sense.
that's fair.
Fairy though is like her sweep is comparable in range to Vasaraga's sweep. That sweep's 16 frames. Hers is 9
Oh wow.
and only -7 on block. Like next to no whiff recovery, and the hurt box is just almost non-existent.
So it's like you can't even like. It's hard to even call that out with a jump, right? It's just okay.
Yeah, if you jump over it, you tend to get EXDP'd out of the air.
Hmm. Okay, okay. I see what you're getting at. And yeah, like when you put Grant in perspective, like yeah, his buttons are more like kind of reactionary to what you're doing rather than him just like pulling you from mid range.
Yeah, it's like the hitboxes on Grand's buttons aren't like too egregious. The only ones you can say are like even like mildly egregious in terms of like hitboxes is like far H and maybe 2U, but 2U is like -12 on block, so they have to cancel it. So
Okay.
and despite how fast it doesn't really have that much range. You have to just mainly take advantage of the low profile. His 5H though, the main thing about that one is that it's like one of the best counter poke buttons in the game.
Hmm.
I
It
mean,
So, see,
stuffs a lot of buttons.
see, this is the reason why I always like about you and when you pick characters because it seems like even though the characters might be have flaws and it's obvious flaws that some people might know like I guess your local players and somewhat you just tend to like fight through it. And was that like your mindset when you were going to like Super TSB, or did you was like these people probably not don't know what to do against Vasaraga, so I'm gonna ride on them?
It's a little bit of both, because in this game's case, I can tend to power through most of the matchups.
Right.
Because right now, there's only like two that I think are like really egregious right now. And one of them might get touched, but I'm not going to really rely on that. But the main thing is like, I saw who I was about to fight, and I basically got a game plan right from jump at that point.
Hmm.
so how often are your game plans based on the actual particular player you go against?
Hmm. With Vasaraga a lot, actually.
Hmm.
Because like all of top 8 was against my training partners. So,
Okay.
That's crazy. Well, that Vinny was telling us when we were watching you play that that was your training partners. So in when I first heard that, I was thinking, man, this might be even more scary for Fame because that's his training partners. So like they know, but like you said, you came in through it still with like even if they do know the matchup, you still like power through it and figure it out on the adapt on the fly.
But like the most important thing is that because of how RPS heavy Vasaraga is, knowing what they do on defense just speeds up the process a whole lot more. So
Um,
Yeah, I've seen you do some interesting things. Like I've seen like when you do your walk mix up, I've seen you just like walk it the whole way through if you're confident. Like they're too timid to do anything, and I've seen you like play with the options. So like I can see the I guess the validity in that statement.
yeah, like against Lost Soul, he tends to like every time walk happens after the first hit, he basically almost always does something. So against him, I tend to just either just frame trap immediately because he generally almost never takes it, or I Kara throw him before the stomp even makes contact because generally he typically just braces himself first.
Okay. So I guess speaking of Lost Soul, your training partners and all that, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this question. What do you feel you need to beat, like I guess mentally, game in game skill, is whatever you can think of to beat someone who's just really strong at a game.
Well, the first thing is that you have to actually need to believe that you can win.
Okay.
Because if you're beating yourself before the match even starts, you already lost at that point.
All right, before you continue, I just want to say one thing because I know there's a few people I've talked to, and I know the Sad Boys group in the Discord.
I already
And
know.
so, like, I want you to specifically listen to that statement because it's important. You got to believe that the tools and stuff you're training can put you where you want to be. Sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
But like, second is like, well, of course, like knowing the match is pretty important too, because generally, not knowing the matchup against someone that's really strong with the character generally means that you're gonna auto lose a lot of the time, unless it's
yeah,
a bad matchup.
yeah, you see it happen to some of the best players in the world when they run into matchups they're unfamiliar with. Um, I kind of want to go a little bit back on what you said on having that right mindset, how important that really is for people. Because the times I've been to majors, it's everybody's nervous and it's cool. We're all human. That's gonna happen. And everybody has their different rituals or different ways to like try to suppress that nervousness. But yeah, just having that, make sure you have that confidence to win can go so far. It it's remarkable what you can do with confidence and just making sure you keep your head in the game. No pun intended.
I mean, yeah, if you take the second part of the advice too, like knowing the matchups, like if I know a character like in and out, whoever picks that character, they can't do anything different than anyone else theoretically, but because you know it in and out, so that can feed your confidence.
Yep. Actually, I think when I first ran into you, Fame, you were joining people. Uh, I was kind of scared a little bit when you were playing Zato in that room because I was like, man, he's doing really well against everybody. But then I had the confidence in the matchup, and then just in myself. So I did really well. So that little thing, just both of those working together can help you go far. Um, I wanted to ask you a very interesting question. What are there any particular, I would say, players that you would like to play in Grand Blue that you've never played before?
that I've never played before.
Yeah, I asked that question because Grand Blue is kind of like when DBFZ first started. A lot of people are into the Grand Blue from like all from different fighting game types, from like your Tekkens, your Street Fighters, your Marvels, and your Blaze Blues, your Guilty Gears. So that's pretty much why I asked that question. So many people are playing Grand Blue.
Hmm. I'm trying to think because a lot of people want to play Grand Blue right now. I've already played already, and in some other game.
Hmm. Yeah, because you have played a lot of different games. Pretty much all those games that I've named.
I guess at this point you probably want like some up and comer who's making a name for themselves and showing new things.
Hmm.
Because you got your Doguras playing this game. You have your SKDs playing this game. You have so many different types of players. Even a couple of Street Fighter players playing this game. I think Street Fighter players they're kind of like off and on with Grand Blue, but I think they secretly like Grand Blue. They secretly love the game.
Yeah, it's like I'm just kind of laughing because you asked him that question. He's like, well, I've already played them all, and I think I think that's just kind of a testament to to the kind of player he
Yeah,
is in itself.
yeah, man. I've seen you play so many games. A lot of people probably didn't know you played Marvel or Guilty Gear.
I didn't. Well, I didn't compete in Marvel.
Oh,
To be
okay.
fair, it was a lot worse back then too.
That's funny because I was gonna ask what made you get into like fighting games? What was like the number one like what made you like competitively? It's like all right, this
Hmm.
I want to compete now because of this.
Hmm. I was mainly fascinated by like the way certain players went about things. So it's like in Marvel, it'd be like F Champ playing Dormammu, like Ray Ray playing Sentinel and all that. Marvin played with some of the Doctor Doom combos. But in terms of like actually really playing is when I started watching Fenrich for the first time.
Hmm.
So kind of like jump on that question, I guess. What fighting game would you say you just really cut your teeth on? Like you felt like I'm a competent player and I can like go against people. Like what was the first game that solidified you? You would say.
Mm, yeah, that'd be CF. Yeah, easy,
And
easy.
Blaze Blue. Yes.
CF specifically, because technically started in CPEX,
hmm
Hmm.
but I didn't really get my foot in the ground until CF dropped.
Okay. Okay.
Dang, that's interesting that you said Finrich. When I always heard about Finrich because I didn't really play Blaze Blue. I just heard he was like one of the Blaze Blue gods, and his defense was really good. And Blaze Blue players, whenever we tell people who don't play Blaze Blue, that their defense is really good, and whenever you play any fighting game, it seems like that's where you get your defense from. You tend to like read the opponent more so in defense than like trying to mash all the time or anything like that or be aggressive. You just tend to kind of like have a more methodical play style.
Hmm. One thing I've definitely learned over getting better is that you can't always just rely on reacting to everything. Because like if you do that, your better people will just take advantage of you right up front and just kill you for it on offense and defense.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes just guess. There's no getting around it. But generally, you do want to mitigate the guessing as best you can. But typically, if you take like the probability of certain things is like the opportunity cost of things, like how much will you lose if you're wrong,
Right.
and make decisions off that, you can typically beat most people until it gets to the point where like always favoring this is going to get me killed. Let me like adjust more to the player. At that point, that's when you can like really interact with them.
Right.
Okay, just basically letting them know that you see what they're doing and they have to kind of answer you likewise. And it's you mentioned something like opportunity costs and stuff. And one thing I feel like, and it's something I suffered with as well, and I feel like a lot of the newer players suffer with. You said opportunity costs. A lot of people just don't like the idea of being hit at all, and then they let that dictate a lot of their game plan. And I'm one of those people who's like, if the thing I get hit by is not that big a deal, then I don't mind going for this. If the thing that I get hit by will do a little bit of damage but won't knock me down and put me at neutral, then I'm okay with that risk. And I think being okay with risk, letting yourself, have a threshold for wanting to be hit and lose is kind of a big thing that you need.
Yeah, that's typically how basically any big body character has to go through. Is that you have to be okay with getting hit with certain things. How much you need to like stress not getting hit really varies by the game you play and the character you play.
I agree totally. If I wish you could see me shaking my head right now because I learned that from playing big bodies too. Not not
So
having
it's
too much stress
like
on your shoulders.
let me get like a recent example. Like when I'm fighting Fairy, right? This is like a pretty recent one. So one of the things that they actually properly designed with her is her conversion ability is pretty bad for the most part. She doesn't really knock you down from range, at least not any good ones anyway. She typically needs to hit with a 5H or needs to burn EX.
Hmm.
So you can take advantage of that and like dice roll how you want to get in.
Okay. So this is like set her up so like she knows she can hit you there, but if she's wrong, she messes up, and then the game kind of goes from there.
Yeah, most characters will typically do more damage than her when you're just poking around. She needs to set play to get like the really big hits or like her super skybound art.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, those type of characters tend to be designed that way in general. They might have their oddities that make them better than usual or whatever. But yeah, like you take a Dalcine, you like I'm gonna get hit with limbs. Like no matter how good I am, I'm gonna get hit with limbs, and you accept that, and you say you specifically like you look for the limb to call out, and then you just pressure him from there. You get your knockdown, then his game plan is essentially rendered ineffective. So I see what you're getting at.
And I have just one last question. What keeps what keeps you? What are like three things that keep you highly interested, like in a fighting game?
Hmm. I tend to not be too picky with like what kind of fighting game I play, but I guess the main thing that would keep me interested is like the player base itself, because that's probably one of the main reasons I don't play CF anymore. Aside from the netcode, is that people stop playing the game, especially like a lot of the really strong players. They stop playing the game.
Right.
And like a lot of people that are left, I don't really enjoy fighting as much.
Okay. So the high player base.
The thrill of the challenge. Okay.
Mm,
I
a
mean,
good,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, good netcode helps so much. like one thing that Killer Instinct really did for me for like the time I tried it is that good netcode is so good to play it. I like having access to basically the entire continent to play so long as they don't have bad internet
Right.
is so good.
Yeah, I still say that in the alternate world where that game was not locked to Xbone initially, it'll probably still be one of the popular games today
Oh, I definitely would have been all over that game.
because like the netcode and just the way it's built for like the Western audience, I think they would really like it.
Yeah, it's just it still lasted like a really long time to be fair. And people did play that game. That game definitely got in a lot of people's hands.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
So I
did have
can't
a strong player base.
yeah, so I can't like entirely write it off to just being on Xbox, even though that was a factor.
Yeah, I guess like it was still played, but I'm like, it could. I think it could have hit like the Street Fighter 4 levels like around the time it came out, and it could have been the big tournament game. But it kind of hit. It had a natural ceiling to it. I guess is a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have anything else. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, you know.
Oh, what was your third one? I think he had us. We had one more.
Mm, yeah, the third one. Yeah, I can't even really say I do have a third one because, like, I typically don't care too much about how games are generally built. Although there are a few exceptions. Like SF5, for example, even though I don't entirely mind how the system is built, a lot of the characters in that game just feel so whack to play.
Hmm.
Okay. So you have your, I guess, your outliers as far as that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like so it's like a lot of characters just do not feel fun unless you just pop a V trigger. You have to get
That's
beat
true.
up to pop V trigger. So it's like
Arturo said. I think Arturo said it best. He said there's two parts of a match in or around in Street Fighter Five. Pre V trigger and post V trigger.
So I said you got to get beat up to have fun.
Yep.
Oh man, because like yeah, I've definitely seen you play. Like I remember in Justice came out, I think you played Deadshot, if I recall correctly.
no, I play Superman.
Superman, okay. Or maybe I'm thinking of Injustice 2.
I didn't know you
Yeah,
played Justice.
But yeah, it's like yeah, but yeah, I see how like because I see the thing where and a lot of people I'm very close to, they have the same thing where they get angry at mechanics and it skews a lot
so
of what they want. Go ahead.
so in Injustice's case, it's just I actually had a few characters I would want to play, but like the general system was just so boring.
But generally you all right with most things. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah,
Okay. Well. Yep. He hit all the stuff. All the questions that I had. So.
Yeah, I got nothing else. So like I was kind of alluding to earlier, if you got any like thoughts on players trying to come up or anything really, just floor is yours.
Good. You did.
Oh, you still there?
yeah, I'm still here.
Oh yeah, so it's like if you got any final words or not anything.
Um, support Guilty Gear Strive because we need the push roll bad netcode badly, badly.
I mean, like given
Uh,
what you've been saying earlier, like I'm assuming that game's gonna have a pretty good player base, good netcode. It's already hitting two of your potential points there.
so So like player base, I can't entirely rely on because of how different the game is going to be, which is going to turn people off.
Okay, fair.
But if this game actually does well and has like good old rollback implementation, since Zynek is on the team,
Hmm.
he also worked on KI. That also will open up like the other Japanese developers, like the makers of like Tekken, Soul Calibur, King. Well, SNK is already doing it a little bit. They just need to do it on the current games.
Yeah, yeah. They've been
So like
outsourcing.
French, so like also like French bread. We mainly need to get them to recognize that this will work and people will definitely buy it.
See, yeah, I mean, like if it's a game you can log on and you can reliably play with anybody, that's pretty huge in itself. It'll last longer as far as like just overall activity, because like when people die off, you got people like sporadically spread out, but you can still play them.
So yeah, Arc Sys has my favorite fighting games, but they have like the worst net code outside of like SNK.
Yeah, that's killed. I won't say killed, but it is dampened growth and potential activity of those games a lot over the years.
Um, yeah, I guess. Yeah, like I said, I'm all burnt out of questions.
Yeah,
Um,
same here, man. I
where
definitely
can people find? Oh, I'm sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, where can people? Because I know you stream a lot. Um, what's your stream? I can't. I can't.
It's Twitch.tv/slash Fame96
Okay, and then your Twitter.
is yes hash Adarochi Fame96.
Okay, cool.
I will have those in the description. So if you want to follow Fame, check out what he's been doing. I will have that listed for you. But man, I definitely appreciate you answering Casey's request and talking with us. Hope it wasn't too boring. Hope it I had a good time. I learned a lot too. So I definitely appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
All right. If there's not anything else, that will be it for tonight. So you know, go ahead, follow, and check out the next video. We try to do them week by week, and that's it. So peace.
Yep. I'm out. Peace.